Good morning, everyone. It's Francisco, product evangelist at Events.com, and this is Ask an Event Pro, the show where we let you get to know some of the event pros out there a little bit better. And today with us is John Malfatto. He is the co-founder of some of the most epic events out there right now. Events like Me Rad, Slide the City, the Lantern Fest, just to name a few. And would love to get to know John a little bit better today. Welcome, John.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure to have you today with us. We're just going to go right into it, if you don't mind. John, I have to imagine that, managing so many different brands, so many different types of events, you need very specific apps or technology tools that you use. Can you tell us what are some of these apps and tech tools that you just can't live without?
First, the main one is I use Mac Mail and put all my email accounts in one system, so I'm able to actually respond to everyone, and that's something that has become really important to me, is make sure I respond to absolutely every single person who gets to me within 24 hours. And then Google, like the apps, are really important to me. Obviously the sheets, things like that. Just any Google Doc that I can share with the entire company, so that people can make changes, different things like that. That's pretty huge. I feel like any type of video conference like Hangouts or Skype or FaceTime, those are definitely big ones, because I actually like to work from home as often as I can, and I like our employees to be able to work from home as often as they want. And so that's just kind of a cultural thing that I've wanted to institute. And so being able to actually talk face to face is important, when you're not actually able to sit in the same room. And so that's been a big part of it. I'd say on the social media side of things, some of those products out there, like Hootsuite or TweetDeck, different things like that, where you can actually manage several different social media platforms within one. I think that's been super beneficial, and you can't actually promote these events without Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and things like that. So those are some of the I don't know how tech tools, how techy those are, but those are some of the big ones that I use just on a daily basis.
Totally. Helps you keep organized. And interesting how you use technology to help you multitask in the social media front. Having to touch so many different types of audiences, of course, in the different types of events that you put on, which actually leads me to my next question, John. How did you come about, how did you go about choosing some of these audiences for the events that you put on?
Well, really, you don't really get to choose the audience. The event chooses the audience. And so, when I started my first event, which was the Dirty Dash, which is a mud run, the audience for that seemed to be skewed more towards 25 to 35-year-olds, kind of young professionals, and about 60% female. Once I was able to figure that out, I could market to those people specifically. Me Rad, on the other hand, skewed a little bit younger and is about 75% female. And so, once I was able to figure that out, I was able to target those specific people. I mean, it's you never want to say, I'm targeting young females, but that's essentially what you're doing, right?
Right.
But as the running industry has kind of become saturated, I've moved on to other types of events. So Slide the City being one of them, and that's actually a really broad demographic, and it doesn't just, we're not just targeting runners or the fitness industry. We're targeting nearly everyone. It's a family-friendly event. And then the Lantern Fest is the most broad of them all. I mean, that's one thing I actually really like about it, is you've got a 90-year-old grandpa sitting right next to a family of 4 with 2 little kids sitting right next to a group of teenagers that their parents just dropped them off. And so it's a really, it's a really cool event like that, where it brings a lot of different demographics together, and they're all roasting marshmallows over a fire together and talking, and so it bridges the generation gap, which I think is really cool.
That is really cool. That is awesome. And so I know that you have background in marketing. Obviously, you're an expert in marketing as well. And now we know that you just kind of came up with the idea for some of these events, and then just started adapting the marketing towards these audiences that all of a sudden became followers of your events. Talk to us a little bit about some of these marketing tactics that you've chosen to use over the years, and what are some of the most effective ones?
Well, so initially, because I didn't have any money, the first marketing tactic I used was I was out there flyering cars. Like, I was out there talking to people. I was going to events. I was, passing out flyers. I went and visited every running store in the area, asked them if I could put up posters, give them flyers. So grassroots marketing, although it is a lot of work and it's something that a lot of people don't want to do, it is very effective, because the most effective marketing tool is word of mouth, and you can't get word of mouth started without talking to people. And you can do your digital ads, and you can you can talk to people online and through social media, but when you can actually have a conversation with someone and sell the event, and they know, hey, I'm talking to the event director, it goes a long way, because then they feel more loyal to the event. They feel like they're part of the event. I don't know how many times during the first couple of years of my events I would get emails from people I had met. They're like, hey, it was great to meet you. I've got some suggestions. And and then you can use some of that through social media, where you could be like, hey, I'm interested in your suggestions on what the design of the shirt's going to be for 2016. Or people love to be involved in the event and actually talking to them through grassroots, whether it's setting up a booth at a local race, or going to a farmer's market and passing out flyers, things like that. So I can't stress enough how important grassroots is. And I feel like it's been forgotten by a lot of people, and because everyone's just like, oh, I'll just do pay-per-click advertising. I'll sit back and let the money, roll in. And that's just not how it works. I think with first-year events, especially, grassroots is very, very important. Once you've got a more established event, then I think the more effective marketing tactics you can reach more people is through digital advertising, Google AdWords, Facebook. And then right now, I feel like some of the most effective marketing tactics is working with social influencers. And so, whether that's the bloggers or the vloggers, different things like that, reaching out, giving them, free entries that they can give away on their blog, sometimes actually paying them to come to the event, take pictures, take videos, and then post about it afterward. And then contests, on social media. That's all. Everyone wants free stuff, and so giving stuff away and trying to leverage that to increase the word of mouth and have them tag you and different things like that has been pretty effective for us as well. Like I said though, like grassroots, I feel like is really important to establish the foundation. It doesn't matter what marketing tactic you use if your event is not something that people want to do, or if you don't actually produce the event that they expect. And so, just as it's important to get people there, you've always got to be thinking about year 2 and 3 about how to make it an event that's beyond their expectations. And I think that's probably the most important marketing tactic you can use is make the event awesome, and people will tell their friends about it, and they'll come back the next year.
Totally. It makes total sense, and you've done an amazing job, John. Congratulations. Obviously, you have the background of being such a marketing expert, and you're obviously a great business person as well, but I have to assume you have a pretty amazing team that works with you on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, I
From
always,
home.
I kind of, I mean, the second I realized that I was the worst at everything, and that everyone I hired was better than me, I actually, my stress level went down, and we were more successful. So I mean, fortunately, I was in the situation where I was able to come up with some ideas and then do the first event, and really just I would just wing it, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
when you go into a city and you say I want to put 1,000-foot slip and slide down city streets, and they don't tell you no, well then it's on. Then you have to
Yeah.
do it. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been working for 48 hours straight without any sleep or any food, trying to get that first event off the ground. And that's actually what I enjoy most is creating it the first time. But what everyone who works with me is so good at is they can actually they're so good at refining it, making it better, recreating it. And I always tell people, I'm good at taking something to about 75%, and that takes all my effort. But everyone else that I work with is so great at taking it from 75 to 100%. And there's so much more work involved in taking it from 75 to 25 than that first 75%.
Right.
And so I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of detail-oriented people who care about the event and want to make it great.
Awesome. Well, it's obvious that it's a great team. It's working really well for you guys. You're doing everything amazing. And one of the things that we wanted to bring up is the fact that you're also uh, helping when it comes to being a charity event and doing something for the world, if you will. And you've partnered with a company called Feed One. Can you talk to us a little about how Feed One became your national charity partner?
Well, in every single one of my events, I've wanted to have some sort of charity element. I feel like not only is it a great thing to do, but it's gotten to the point where people expect a charity to be involved in events. And so in the organization of trying to make it work and be able to donate to charities and things, we've worked it out to where the charity will benefit more and more the more they're involved, whether it's by using grassroots to promote their promo code that we give them, or on social media, or providing volunteers. There's a lot of different things that these charities can do. And so for each event, we actually have a local charity that we work with, and then we've gotten into the mode of trying to have a national charity as well. So, for instance, Lantern Fest, we've partnered with Angels of America's Fallen, which is great. It's kind of right in the wheelhouse of the event, where the charity benefits the children of fallen heroes, whether that's military, firefighters, police officers, different things like that. The kids will come to the event. They'll have an awesome experience. They'll let off these lanterns, and it's almost it's something they can do to remember, whether it's their dad or their mom or their grandpa or different things like that. And so working with these charities actually is part of the event. It's not just, hey, we want the charity to come out and we just slap their name on it. We actually want the charity to participate. With Feed One, we've been working with Convoy of Hope, and that one, we've tried to work out a lot of different things to see what works best. I mean, we've got a roundup option on the website where if just like when you're at the grocery store, they ask, oh, would you like to, it's $37.55, you want to donate the other 45 cents to charity. So we're doing something like that, and then really it's we're raising money to feed children that don't have the same opportunities that maybe you and I do. And so the charity aspect is something that we really enjoy, whether it's on the national level or it's on the local level. It's something that can really be beneficial to the event, and obviously to the charity and all those who benefit from that charity.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations, and thank you on behalf of all those that you're helping through these events. Now, John, you mentioned at the beginning that you've noticed that the running scene is kind of getting saturated a bit. The market's it's very competitive. You've started to venture towards slightly different events, more on the festival type of event. But nonetheless, those running events that you are still working with are staying at the top of the charts. They are very, very famous, very, very favorites amongst the runners out there. What, how do you keep these events so unique in such a competitive market?
Well, I think what you said, you have to keep them unique and different. You have to differentiate yourself. If you're just essentially trying to do the same type of event that someone else is doing, well then why would they choose yours over that other one? I've always felt that a lot of times people don't choose an event based on the brand, they just choose an event based on the date of the event. Am I going to be in town? And
Right.
if I'm running, do I have enough time to train for it? And so, you're going to get a lot of those types of people, but what you're really trying to do is create a loyal customer. And as I mentioned before, making sure the event is beyond their expectations and always trying to innovate, I think is really the key in being able to stay on top. And so everyone knows, okay, well for Dirty Dash, I know I'm going to get at least one cool new obstacle every year, and that obstacle is going to be cool enough to want to make me come back the next year. For Color Me Rad, this year we added gel, which people really, really enjoyed, and it was cool. And we have twice as many color stations as the competitors out there. And so as people know these things, they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not just going to do it for the date. I'm going to do it because they have gel, or they have twice as many color stations, or they're doing a new obstacle that I can expect to be awesome. And so I think that's the big thing you've got to, one, you've got to do every year, but then two, you've got to be able to get the word out that you're doing it. And sometimes getting the word out that you're doing it is the most difficult part. And so that's why using those things like grassroots and social media, it's so key.
Absolutely, John. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time today. This has been incredibly helpful for a lot of the listeners that I'm sure are right at the beginning of making the decision of whether they want to start an entrepreneurial venture like you did a few years back. And you're such an inspiration because obviously you're very successful now at what you do. I wanted to thank you again for coming today to Ask an Event Pro. For those that are listening, again, remember we're here every Thursday, 11:15 a.m. Pacific, 2:15 Eastern. John, hope to have you again in the show in the near future. Best of luck with everything else, and we'll see you soon.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Bye, everyone.